All right. Fingers crossed that technology cooperates, a sick baby cooperates. I'm asking for a lot. I'm asking for a lot, universe. I know it, but I have an amazing interview today, and I didn't want to cancel, so we're trying so hard. We're trying so hard to pull through. So send all the good energy over this way, because I wanted to talk about how you are more than just a mom. And I also want to share that being just a mom is absolutely good enough. And equally, you can start to lose yourself when that becomes your only identity. So it's such a balance between, like, you don't need to go do more to be more, but this is to fill your cup up, to really be the best version of yourself, because like your kids benefit from you doing this. You yourself benefit, and also the world. And equally, there comes a point in time where your kids are going to have their own friends. They're going to move out of your house, right? Like they're going to become their own person. And we want to make sure that, like, when that day comes, because it will, you also just have your own identity where you're peaceful and you're excited for them to move on, and we don't cling on to them, because that can actually be harmful for them as humans too. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. So I'm going to see if I can bring my guest on here today. Let me pull this up here. But give me hashtag live, hashtag replay. And I talked to so many moms, and they want to have something of their own, but they're like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. Either they're staying home and they don't have a lot of time and energy, or they work, but their job isn't like fulfilling them. It's obviously like a means to an end. It's to help pay the bills, which, you know, is literally one of the most inspiring things to me, because everyone's doing what they need to do. Like literally yesterday, 1-800-GOT-JUNK came. And the guys were so nice, and they were picking things up. I've been going on my own minimalist journey, which is another training for another day. And, you know, it got to the time where I was paying them, and I was like, do you guys have a busy day? And he goes, I hope so, because I got to feed that family. And I was like, I get it. And so it's like, I want to normalize women working, because the world doesn't normally normalize that. And it's such an inspiring thing to do. And equally, sometimes it, like, staying home is the solution. Daycare costs are absolutely outrageous. And so sometimes it does mean staying home, and that's okay too. So it's just like finding, even if it's not fulfillment, finding your identity outside of children, I think is just so important. And also just embracing it all. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I see your little one back there.
I know. You know, I've got my babysitter on, which is Miss Rachel. So
There you go.
we're golden. We're golden. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to have a conversation with you. And so I'm just excited that you're here, and would just love for everyone to get to know you a little bit more. So Deanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be
Yeah.
here.
So tell us a little bit more about you, what you're doing, and we can get into the conversation.
So it's interesting. I was hearing you talking about the price of daycare and all of those things. And admittedly, I was never someone who thought, oh, I want to stay at home with my kids, because I was a teacher before I had them, and I just couldn't imagine what that would be like. And then I had twins, and the cost of childcare is astronomical times two. I actually would have been paying simply, my salary would have just been paying for someone else to take care of them. So it didn't make sense. And so that led to me going on a completely different path, which I'm thankful for, because it's ultimately led me to where I am right now. But my husband was also military, so we moved a lot. And that precluded me from being able to really kind of find my way back into the workforce per se. And so I found my way into the online space and found coaching and really, really love that flexibility that that provides. And I feel like everything has led to where I am right now because I've been through so many things and tried so many things and experienced so many things that when you get to be in your 50s, you've experienced a lot, and you can take that experience and repackage it and use it to do something different, which is what I'm doing right now because I've gone back to school to get a degree in counseling so that when my boys graduate next year, I will be moving into that field for the, the second half. And it's exciting because I think a lot of times we think that when the kids go off, that things are kind of over, but I really feel like it's a chance to start again and find yourself again. And so it's an exciting time, I think.
I love that so much. And reinventing yourself and evolving is the point of life. Like, I love thinking about the butterfly and like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Oh my gosh.
evolution. What?
I just got chilled.
Really?
Because the butterfly, that's going to sound like so woo woo, but I have a file on my phone where every time I see an image of a butterfly, I save it because it's my reminder that I'm on the right path. So like you just you just sent me a message.
Well, now I have chills too. It's so good. It's so good. If you haven't seen, there's a meme of a caterpillar with a butterfly and saying like you've changed, and then the butterfly's like that's the whole point.
Right.
And so I love that. And I love that you're normalizing it and modeling that for your boys because that's going to help them in ways that they probably don't even know. So that's like so exciting. So when you're working with people, are there kids like on the way out? Like, is that typically who you're working with?
Yes, because it's a weird time.
Yeah.
You spend so much time with sports and practices and homework and running them here and
Yeah.
running them there. And then all of a sudden, when they start driving, you're like, I miss you. I don't get to see you as much. And so things slowly start to shift. And for me, I felt this sense of like, okay, well now what? Because there's whole, I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm not a sit around and do nothing kind of person. So, how can you take all of that experience that you have and use it to leverage those skills either for a new career or to start a business or whatever that might look like for you as you enter that period of life. And so, what I like to do is I'm a DISC behavioral consultant, and I get really nerdy about that, but I have created a quiz where if you take the quiz, it's not an official DISC assessment, but it'll give you an idea of what your primary DISC profile is, which for me, when I know that about someone, it really sheds some light on maybe why a position didn't work for you or why you were so miserable or uncomfortable in a particular role. And then also what your strengths are, because each different profile has its own strengths. And it takes all of us to make things work. So there's not that there's one profile that's any better than the other. It's just really being able to be reflective about yourself and what is the story that you've been telling yourself about your career up till now, and then how can we write a new story about what that's going to look like going forward.
I love that so much. And I find that moms, even if they're on like the early, like thick years of motherhood or they're on their way out, to find the energy and effort to pour into you, it is challenging. What have you found to work well for you and your clients in those like small pockets of time to make sure that mom is a priority?
It's funny that you say that, because when you said that about like the adjustments all throughout motherhood, I used to joke, just when you get them figured out and you're like, okay, they're sleeping through the night, they like everything changes. So it's like such a joke that you think you're ever going to have any of it figured out, because it's always changing and they're always different. And then the problems at every level, like I would love to go back and deal with potty training again. Like that's a piece of cake compared to the first time they drive off in the car or they have.
I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember this conversation right now.
A difficult
you don't feel like it when you're in it. You're like,
no.
Ah.
It feels so overwhelming when you're in it, and it's so easy to get caught up in that overwhelm. And that's why it's so important to find those ways to feed yourself. And that's different for everyone. For me, it's always been learning. So I'm a bit of a course junkie and I've been in school a lot, but that's how I feed myself because that's what works for me. But that's different for everyone else. It could be, something more artistic in nature. It could be, making sure that you go on a walk every day. It just spending time with the people that matter most to you, setting boundaries. And so again, that's when you understand how you're kind of hardwired, it makes it easier to identify those types of things that might work for you, versus just being like, oh, well, self-care is so important. It's not just going and getting a massage. That's nice, but you have to take care of yourself up here, because there's so many just shifts that happen with your identity and your relationships and what you thought was important before. You're like, that doesn't matter. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
When I feel like, and you, I mean, you're the expert, so you can tell me, but like ignoring yourself for 18 years plus is not the way to go. Like, oh, well, when the
No.
kids leave, then I'll figure it out. Because then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's kind of like a massive amount of debt. Now
Mm-hmm.
you've got to like pay it all off, figure things out versus like just like the small little like payments, right? As you
Mm-hmm.
progress and you're like, okay, Eve, like I'm building my business very, I don't love to use the word slowly, but intentionally. Like
Right.
I'm not overextending myself, um, because I know that that's just going to cause me to burn out. So,
Mm-hmm.
but as long as I'm making progress, that's all that I worry about. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels good to make progress. So like, um, the pace is going to be different. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is like important to acknowledge too, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we can't keep making progress.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, I think this idea of being able to do it all is not, it's not real.
No, say it again. Say
Because you
it
cannot
again.
you can't do it all without
Yeah.
help. I mean, there's no way. That's why we have childcare, because we
Yeah.
can't do both at the same time. I mean, even if you work from home, it's not realistic because of, kids getting sick or, walking in on something. Like before I got on here, I had to text my son and say, I'm going to be on a live, do not call me,
Yeah.
because I knew that he would, because he was on his way home from somewhere. So it's those constant little interruptions that also just kind of, it's like, I don't know, for me it's like there's this constant like wheel of stuff in my head that's kind of cycling all the time,
Yeah.
and it's like having to manage
Yeah.
that on top of the things that I want to be able to do. And
Yes.
so we have to be able to focus on those things that we want to do for ourselves, because it's not realistic to, it's not good for your kids to cater to everything that they need and be
Yeah.
there anytime that they want you, because that's not teaching them independence, which is the ultimate goal for them to be able to go off and be who they're supposed to be.
Yes. I love that so much. Well, and I have mom friends that have kids that are older and they're like, they need you more. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't think that they will, but they need you more. It's just in different ways. And like how you mentioned, like them
Mm-hmm.
driving off in a car, I cannot imagine the worry, the anxiety, right? Like you hope that you did everything possible to
Mm-hmm.
set them up for success. And you mentioned, are your boys graduating this year or next year?
Next year. So
Next
they
year, okay.
just finished their junior year. So like we just scheduled senior photos and I was like, oh gosh,
Oh
so
my
cool.
gosh! And
It
you're having
just
to get
started.
like double emotions too. So
Yes, yes.
that's it's a lot. So like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
find you navigate through the duality of like I'm going to miss them and also like I'm so excited for them because I think that that's also a
Mm-hmm.
challenge.
I'm weird. I was never someone who was like, oh, I want to have a big wedding, or, oh, I can't wait to be pregnant. Like, I wanted to be married and I wanted to have adult children. Not thinking about all of the things that you have to go through to get to that point. But I've always envisioned what it would be like for them to be older and have that kind of a relationship with them. So I've really, we've had challenges for sure. But I really enjoy seeing who they're becoming. And um, I want them to go out and be able to experience things and discover who they are, because that's the point of it. And I think that when we try to hold on to them or make them feel guilty for going out, we didn't want that for ourselves. So I don't want to do it to them. And at the same time, like, I don't want to feel guilty for me wanting to do the things that I want to do. So I don't want to put that on them either. Not saying that, I mean, I'm gonna cry like a baby when
Right.
it's their last day of their last first day of school, all of those things.
Yes.
But it's also exciting at the same time.
Yes, and I think leaning into that excitement, like obviously always feel your feelings, but like leaning into the excitement is like the whole point of life. Like it's like relishing in those moments and
Yes.
excited for them. So I love the adult children. I have definitely felt that too. Like I'm definitely like a newborn mom is not for me. Like it's a tough season, and
my husband deployed when our boys were 3 months old. So I was by myself from 3 months to 10 months. And this was before, Instacart and all. I used to have to time, like when I was going to go to the groceries on, like, cause I breastfed, so like doing two at once, you're essentially like completely disrobing. And so I would have to like, find these little pockets of times just to go to the grocery store. And, so like the hardness is always there. It just is different at different stages.
Wow. Well, you are a superhero. It's amazing. So where can people find you? What offerings do you have? I would love to make sure that we shed some light on that so moms that need you can find you and know how to work with you.
So if you go to Deanna Pecina, and it's DeannaPecina.com/quiz, you can take my quiz and it'll immediately give you a link to a website that breaks down all of your different parts. Like, what are some possible career choices for you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities for growth? What does that look like? So there's a lot of information on that page. And then I have a journal guide that I email out as well, so that you can work through the process of really digging in on what things could look like for you going forward. And I'm in the process of a group coaching program, and I'll be launching that soon. And I'm excited about it because I think that it's really easy to feel alone in motherhood. And when you can connect with other people who are at that same point as you, it just, number one, you realize you're not alone. And then it gives you that feeling of momentum to be like, oh, I can do this. We can do this together.
I love that so much. It's so needed. And a quiz is like so good for a mom. Like you can answer that when she's rocking the baby or making lunches or anything like that. So I love a quiz idea. Such a good idea. And do you normally hang out mostly on Facebook, Instagram, somewhere else?
Instagram, and then I do have a podcast. It's Purpose After Parenting. And I am starting to hang out more on LinkedIn because it feels like, number one, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of social media.
Yeah.
I know it's like a necessary thing. I get that aspect of it, but LinkedIn feels more like me. So I'm trying to move in that direction a little bit.
I love that so much. Well, and I always love to end our episodes with, what's the piece of advice that has really supported you over all the years that's like your go-to when you need it? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think the biggest thing to know is, as cliche as it sounds, when people look at you and say, you're going to miss this, it sounds like when you're in the moment, you're like, yeah, you need to just stop because this is really freaking hard. I'm not going to miss this.
Yeah.
Just really being as present as you can in the moment. I can remember, and I'm going to get emotional here, but I can remember when my boys were, toddlers, sitting in their bedroom and playing with them on the floor, and like in that moment thinking, I need to freeze this moment in my mind. And that has been such a touchstone for me, just like being able to go, okay, I need to really enjoy this, because when it's gone, you don't get it back.
Yeah.
I look at pictures of my boys, and when they're 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then I look at them now and I'm like, they're all of those versions still, and it's just enjoy it, because it goes by really, really fast.
Yeah, it really does. Like, it really, really does. And to your point, it can be so hard in that moment to like, you know, you can roll your eyes so
Mhm.
easily, like, yeah, it must, like, easy for you to say you're not in the thick of it, sleep deprived,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
there is so much truth in it. And,
Hmm.
you know, it's like, just, I love the idea of like freezing the moment,
Hmm.
because then it's like anchored in your heart. So
Hmm.
I love that idea. It's so huge. It's so good. Well, I appreciate your time and your energy and your wisdom. And moms joining together is one of the best things that we can do. Like, we are not meant to be burnout. We're not meant to feel
No.
alone. We're not meant to wait to go and do all of the things that we
Hmm.
want to do. And I love that you're being such a positive example in the world for
Well,
that.
thank you.
We need more of that. So thank you for rolling with the shifts and all the things. I was really looking forward to our conversation, so I didn't
No,
want to.
absolutely. And I mean, it's been zero
Yeah,
interruption. I mean,
we had a pep talk before, and I called in all the angels and everything. So I hope you see a butterfly today, and just know
thank
that you're
you.
doing such good work in the world. Make sure you connect and hang out with Deanna, and I can't wait to connect again with you too.
All right. It was great to see you.
Good
Bye.
to see you too. Bye. Have a good day.
You too.